It's been quite a while since we've reviewed an MSI laptop, and so I have here with me today a really interesting laptop from MSI. This is the GS66 Stealth. Without a doubt, this is a really powerful gaming laptop, and I would say it's competing against the likes of Razer Blades, Alienware, and the Zephyrus series from Asus. I have here with me the top spec model. It's running an Intel Core i9-10980HK, 32GB of RAM, NVIDIA RTX 2080 Super Max-Q, and a 1TB NVMe SSD. So just from specs alone, you know that it's going to take on any game that you throw at it. But before we get into the nitty-gritty, let's talk a little bit about the design, and it's actually one of the few things that I'm really liking on this laptop. This time around, the GS66 Stealth is really taking pride in that stealth moniker. Gone are the gold trims of the previous generation, and you now basically get an all-black chassis, to the point where even the logo is really subtle, only being visible at certain angles. It's clean, it's simple, it's really sturdy, and you won't feel out of place no matter where you are. Personally, I do feel that MSI is taking a step in the right direction with regards to the design of their gaming laptops, and I do hope that this design will sort of trickle down to their other series. But let's now talk about something that's probably arguably more important, and that's the display. You get a 15.6-inch Full HD panel that's capable of 100% sRGB coverage and can hit a max brightness of about 320 nits. It's honestly a great display. You get pretty vibrant and accurate colors, great for consuming all your content, be it creative or entertainment, and to top all of that off, it's 300Hz. Without a doubt, 300Hz is great for gaming, especially fast-paced shooters like Apex Legends where your reaction times really matter. But like I mentioned before, the difference between 240Hz and 300Hz is really minimal. Perhaps not noticeable if at all. Even for me who's used to 144Hz and have some dabbling into 240Hz, I find that 240Hz and 300Hz there's essentially no perceivable difference. And to add on, most games nowadays, especially AAA titles and even graphically intense esports titles like Apex or PUBG, it's really tough to achieve 200 frames per second, let alone 300 frames per second. So you aren't really even using the maximum capabilities of that display in that regard. Now sure enough, you can drop the graphics setting and perhaps you can hit 300 frames, but then again, I wouldn't say it's that much of an advantage over 240Hz or even 144Hz. Personally, I would like to see an upgraded 240Hz panel or even 144Hz panel in terms of, let's say, color reproduction, accuracy, and perhaps response times, but most importantly, brightness. Because as you push the envelope of refresh rate, so does the difficulty of increasing max brightness. That's why you see nowadays that 300Hz panels are usually around that 300 nits range and hardly ever surpass 400 or 500 even. So yeah, those are just my 2 cents. Oh, and one thing you can do is actually push the panel all the way down till it's flat on the table. Next, we have the webcam. As you can tell, it's just 720p, like most other laptops out there. The image quality is, well, not that great, and microphones, I guess it's kind of decent. Basically, if you're just looking for a webcam that just works, this is that webcam. It does, however, support Windows Hello, so I guess that's a nice touch. Like usual, MSI works with SteelSeries to make most of their laptop keyboards, and this is no exception. You get full RGB support that's configurable via the SteelSeries engine software, and honestly, it's just a great keyboard, with tactile feedback and a good amount of key travel. I pretty much had no issues typing on it, and gaming on it was enjoyable. The layout, however, is a little weird. As you can see, the function and right control key are split into 2 halves, which is quite uncommon, but the weirder thing is that there's actually 2 of the exact same keys for backslash. I'm not entirely sure why they did so, and I can't think of a reason why anyone would want 2 keys for backslash, but it's there, so yeah. The trackpad is great. It's far bigger than most out there and has kind of like an ultra wide aspect ratio to it. It uses precision, feels great to use, I have no qualms about it. Now flanking both sides of the laptop are the speakers, and to sum it up in one word, it's weird. Okay, I guess it's a sentence, but anyways, it's kind of weird. It does get pretty loud, but the highs sound quite sharp and the bass, while there definitely is some, feels a little airy. Now if you actually open it up, you'll find that the speakers are dual firing, top and bottom, and I think that design actually backfired. Because there aren't any openings on the bottom and the top opening is just a thin slit, I feel that the sound is being forced through that slit and thus the highs are sharper overall. And because the sound from the bottom speaker is bouncing off the bottom panel, it's mixing in with the sound from the top speaker with a slightly different tonality. I'm not too sure how to explain, but in short, it gets really loud but sounds a little weird. Ports wise, on the right, you get RJ45 Ethernet, 2 USB 3.2 Type A, a USB 3.2 Type C, and your headphone mic combo. While on the left, you get power input, Thunderbolt 3, HDMI 2.0, and another USB 3.2 Type A. We then come to the nitty-gritty stuff, so let's talk performance. In Cinebench R20, the 10th gen Intel Core i9 scored 3475 on the multi-core and 466 on the single core, which as expected was slightly better than the Core i7 10875H which I tested on the Razer Blade Pro. As for DaVinci Resolve, it managed to render the 1080p project in about 5.5 minutes, while the 4K project took roughly 16.5 minutes. But if you overclock the GPU using MSI Dragon Center and activate Cooler Boost as well, you can expect slight improvements, about 20 seconds faster for the 1080p project and a minute faster for the 4K project. As for gaming, you can expect extremely playable frame rates with most games easily hitting over 100 frames per second at the max settings, with CSGO almost hitting 200 frames. Coupled with the 300Hz display, it really makes for a great gaming experience. Talking about temperatures though, it's not that great. Be it creative workloads or gaming, you can expect to see the CPU hit 95 degrees Celsius and stay there pretty much the whole time. Now it does so while maintaining clocks above 3 GHz, well above its base clock, but 95 degrees Celsius is really high. The GPU however does fare better, averaging about 70 degrees Celsius. But to add on, the fans do get pretty loud, much louder than most other laptops out there. Now if you do turn on Cooler Boost, it will drop the CPU temperatures by a whole 5 degrees Celsius and even the GPU temps by the same amount as well. But the fans get really loud, and this time it's even easily noticeable with your headphones on without music playing. Honestly, I wouldn't use this at all. In terms of upgrades, you get access to 2 RAM slots, the included NVMe drive along with space for 1 more, and you can swap out the Wi-Fi card should you want to. This is also where you can find the battery, which is probably the largest in a consumer laptop by far. It's a 99.9 Wh battery and is just barely under the legal limit for a built-in lithium battery in a device to carry on board a flight. With the GS66 Stealth, you can expect about 7 hours of real-world usage, and while it's not mind-blowing when compared to something like say an XPS or MacBook, it's still pretty great, especially when you consider that this has an Intel Core i9 and an RTX 2080 Super Max-Q in it. Now of course, you are still not going to be able to game on battery, it's going to last you probably an hour or so, but if you are looking at this from a creative standpoint, I think that this makes it much more viable as a mobile workstation. Overall, I feel that the GS66 Stealth is a really capable laptop, and for a gaming laptop, I feel that it's one of the nicer looking ones out there as well. With that said however, you do have to take into consideration the price, for it is an expensive laptop and also that CPU temperature. My first advice, if you're planning on getting this laptop, is to undervolt the CPU or change the thermal paste for liquid metal, or perhaps do both. Doing those will definitely drop the temperatures by a whole bunch and will help with the longevity of the device. But of course, do so at your own risk. My second advice, which kind of links to price, is to not actually get the Intel Core i9 and the RTX 2080 Super Max-Q. Instead, opt for the Intel Core i7 and the RTX 2070 Super Max-Q instead. Because honestly, comparing between the 2070 Super Max-Q and the 2080 Super Max-Q, the performance is minimal at best, especially if you're coming from a creative standpoint. But those are just my 2 cents. If you have any questions, drop us a comment down below. Check out our affiliate links if you'd like to support us. If you do, thanks for your support. Remember to subscribe to us, follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Till the next one. See ya!